Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Breakfast at Ruby's, featuring me, Project Ruby, everywhere, Twitter, nope, YouTube. I said Twitter twice.
Twitch.
Yes. That's my new single coming out very soon, called Self Promo.
Follow me.
Um,
Called Follow Me.
Yes, we're gonna do that. My debut single. It's already been revered by every publication. You're welcome. But next to me we have Keithos. Hello.
Hi everyone. I'm eating bugs today apparently, and I'm a variety streamer and musician, and I will have new music coming soon, although a little bit later than I thought.
Listen, bugs can be pretty nutritious. Nobody's
True.
judging you here. It's okay. And we have Chalora. Hi.
Hi, I'm comfy today.
Yes, so comfy.
Oh,
We love
Jelly.
that.
Um,
Passion may or may not join us today. She may or may not be asleep at the moment, but if she happens to join us, there'll be a jump cut at some point if you're watching on YouTube, and she'll be on screen at some point. If not, enjoy, I guess.
Charlie's Angels. Destiny's Child.
Yes, exactly. Uh, So this is a talk show that we do every week on Twitch, and we talk about a lot of different topics that range from pop culture, gaming, nerdy stuff, queer issues and conversations, and etc. So something that happened over the weekend was I guess over the end of last week, beginning of this week kind of thing, was Wendy Williams. I've mentioned her a couple of times because I was unaware of the amount of messiness that surrounded her.
Me too.
And
Continue.
I've not only learned that she has a very messy past, but also a messy present.
Probably
oh,
a messy future.
Yeah. So I won't provide you all with clips today because she's on a TV show and they could probably sue me for using her footage. So I'm not going to do that, but she had a moment in one of her I was going to say one of her streams, one of her shows where she was talking about Valentine's Day and then the term Galentine's Day for women who are single and they get together with their girlfriends and all that stuff. And she was asking her audience, like, who's partaking in it? And she happened to clock a gay man clapping alongside the
I don't even know if
women
he was gay.
who
He might
were,
have just been someone's boyfriend.
yeah, he could have been, but she assumed he was gay and she was like, that gay man clapping, this is not
Oh, did
about
she? I didn't hear
you.
that part. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
And she basically called him out, assumed he was gay just because he was clapping. She was like, gay man, stop taking our stuff. Like, Valentine's Day isn't for you. She went on a rant about how, like, if you don't go through puberty, not puberty, through periods or through, like, menopause and stuff like that, you're not a real woman. And she ended up that little rant with like stop wearing our heels in our clothes and our skirts and whatever. So people in the studio didn't really seem to react that well to it, and surely people on the internet didn't react any better. So she got dragged, and it's actually really interesting how she had a similar stance to a lot of different people when they get dragged, which was on the show, she was like, oh, in this show, we keep it real. In this show, we can make jokes. In this show, we can do this, or whatever. And then the next day, she has a video in her dressing room crying, like, I'm sorry. I never meant to offend anyone. Uh, like,
She's a good actress, though.
it's like a 2-minute video where she's like basically apologizing without saying I'm sorry or without even addressing the wrong things that she did. Like she's basically circling around the topic for like 2 minutes, and then in the last couple seconds she's like, I'm sorry. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't even make it to her actual apology because I got bored after the first like minute. And she takes like 20 minutes to be like LGBTQIA. Twitter, Twitch, Twitter. Like, Someone was saying like she looks like she is reading it off, like
She was.
reading everything off a card or something, because she just seemed kind of robotic until the tears flow.
The pauses were
Yeah.
real. She was like looking to the side and she was like the LGBT. We were like, wow, that seems real genuine, girl. Ooh. Don't produce that many tears.
It's like the PR guy with the freaking little cards with the letter, just one letter on them.
Right? Peeling off each letter.
Yeah.
Don't leave anything out, girl. And then if that wasn't enough, I guess we could talk about that first, right? So what do we think about that entire instance? Because it didn't seem like it was like something for outrage. Because I don't think she thinks that far in advance when it comes to her show. I think she's one of those people who just says whatever it is on her mind at the moment. And not that this justifies it, but she's in her 50s. So also it's like some things that she may think are okay to say aren't really. And I think this is more of a testament, not to her age, but to the people she's surrounded by. Because she's a celebrity, I feel like even if she's surrounded by queer people, they will likely not correct her. Or if she says or does certain things around them, they want their job.
Yeah.
So they're not
she would fire people.
they're not gonna be like, wow, Wendy, you're so messy. Stop saying that, because she's gonna fire them and replace them with someone who won't say anything. So I think it was just one of those things where it just highlighted how out of touch she is. And she said that in her quote unquote apology. She's like, I'm not out of touch, but I was like, you are. And it would have honestly been a more accurate apology if she was like, guys, I'm out of touch. I'm sorry. I need to learn and do better. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been such a better apology. Why am I so good at apologizing? I need to start being messy because I'm good at apologizing.
You can get out of any mess you make. You can get out of it.
Like, what's wrong here? Anyway, what do y'all think? I'm tired.
You want to go chill around?
Sure. I didn't see her apology, but like just the basis of that. She probably thought in her head, like it's kind of like a quick, like, what do you call it? Improv?
Yeah.
Because a lot of her show is improv, isn't it?
A little like back and forth that she had, like a little off the cuff moment.
So, a lot, like, it used to be that it was like girls versus boys, it was very simple, sort of like, this is what a men's, like the man cave versus the whatever, the kitchen or whatever. Whatever it was back then.
Right.
And, so, I think that a lot of older generation are used to these kind of jokes or this kind of play on, men versus women. So when we have this mix of a lot of other groups, and it's difficult for them to remember or to drop that and pick up the new stuff. So, like, I don't know. I don't think, like, from what you guys said, like, her apology doesn't genuine to me, because, like, go do the research and show us,
Yeah.
Because, like, as an example, like, heels were originally meant for males. They were designed and worn by men originally.
Yeah.
And then it was worn by women afterwards. So that doesn't mean that it's, of course, what, she didn't grow up with that, obviously, but I think it's a discussion that maybe she should have. And I think it would be more impactful if she invited some people who, maybe some drag queens, maybe some gender nonconforming people, like that guy from that show with, like, the one straight guy and the 5 gay guys.
Queer
Eye for the Straight
yeah.
Guy or whatever. There's a guy who's not a gender nonconforming.
Jonathan Van Ness, I think.
A person. Who's gender nonconforming? Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what you said. Um, invite them on, invite, other people and have like a real healthy discussion because she has a platform to do that. And I
Yeah.
think people would really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the high heels situation, they were used by people way back in the day, for people who don't know. And it was mainly like people in like high positions of power, and way back in the day, I feel like there's still a little bit of that left over these days, but men had a thing with height. Like they associated like worth, and they felt like they were more manly, or they were more important, or they were more powerful if they were taller. And if they weren't, they would wear like shoes with heels so that they would, be taller, or as tall as the queen, for example, if they were a king, or just stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, but obviously that doesn't really mean anything for today. Like, I just think it's silly that it just felt like it was like almost like pent up anger that she had. It's like she's like so proud of being a woman that it's like, no, this is not yours. This is for women. This is ours. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of this and this and that. And this is not to diminish the struggles that women go through. Obviously, they go through a lot of stuff that men don't do, but it's like, that's gay men aren't trying to take your place.
Right. They're not trying to take
Like,
your place or your power or anything.
yeah. Um, but then, possibly days later, she had another show where she reported on, I guess I'm not super familiar with the occupation, but I think she was a therapist, and a lot of famous people were her clients and stuff like that. And she got murdered, and Wendy made, again, an off the cuff joke about her death. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, she got like pushed off a balcony or something. And
Oh my
Wendy,
God.
yeah, and Wendy made a joke about the situation, and even like the reaction in the studio was like, "Oh, girl," like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a very like dark joke for you to make, like,
Yeah.
but she hasn't addressed that one. And I honestly, it's funny to me how sometimes, like one person gets called out once for something, and then it's like they can't stop being messy for, like, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
that
They're like,
happened.
Well, the thing with her is like I was looking her up, and I mean, I think everyone has known her for being messy for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't even realize, before she got her own show, she was always a shock jock on radio. And if you haven't heard the term shock jock, it basically means like she's the type of person to like start some shit and like
Oh,
say some gossip. Like that's literally like her. It has been her persona and the way that she has made herself famous for a really long time.
right.
I guess she kind of started out actually by accusing not accusing, I don't know if that's the right word, but she would always try to out people who
Mm,
ended up most of the time not even being gay. Like she would say like, I think Kanye was gay and Tyler Perry was gay and all of these like different rappers and figures back in like the 90s and 2000s or whenever she started. I don't know the exact dates.
right.
And then I think she got like fired from a few stations, but eventually like found her footing and got her own show. So I think in a way, maybe she's still kind of stuck in the mindset of she knows she's saying this bad stuff and she knows that she's an influencer, and I'm sure she revels in her own celebrity because she
Mm-hmm.
seems like the type, although I don't know her, I'm just judging. So I think though, although she knows she's a celebrity, I think she also maybe sometimes, and this isn't making an excuse for her, it's just my evaluation of her. I think she sometimes doesn't realize how far reaching her opinions and thoughts are now, and that
Mm,
people don't take it as a little capsule. People will use it as ammunition for themselves to use against certain communities. Like, it's not like you're just like, oh, Wendy, I disagree with you. You're annoying. You're dumb. Which
right.
maybe on radio, when it's more one-sided, it's not really conversation. And it's more like people are choosing to tune in versus Wendy just kind of appears on your feeds now that she has her own show and all these
Right.
gifts and has really become one of the biggest pop culture icons of our time. Um, So I think she kind of doesn't realize her power. I don't think she's necessarily genuine in her apology. I think, like you were saying, it would have
Yeah.
been good if she was like, kind of addressed these other issues, because there were other things in the past too where Wendy had, for example, like not let drag queens into her show, or at least one instance where there was a person dressed in drag, but they weren't dressed like outlandish. It was like, more just like a cis woman going to the club, like little dress, heels thing, not like,
Mm-hmm.
this big, like Nina Bonita Brown, like cosplay outfit or something. um and yeah, she didn't let the drag queen in. And yeah, so I think if she had kind of addressed it, like even if she is genuine, which I don't know, maybe part of her is, although I doubt it, but
Mm.
I
Right.
think she could have said like, hey, I have kind of struggled with all of these things in the past. I am educating myself. I know it's a long road, but like I think Chalora was saying, like invite people in, do a panel, educate yourself, and you don't have to necessarily change your mind. We can't make you change your mind, Wendy. If you're watching, Wendy. Um,
Right.
but I think it is, you still have a responsibility, even if you're going to be this like gossipy, shocky person, to at least balance it out and like bring in the other side of it too, so that people can't use you as ammunition for discrimination and quite literally violence. So
Right. Yeah. To kind of, I ran into a thread, like a Reddit post about a lot of different things that she was known for. And it's one of those things, like Kiso said, like everybody sort of has a mentality of like, oh, Wendy is messy. But I feel like not a lot of us are aware of how messy she is. Like the extent of messiness. Like um she made fun of Terry Crews for coming forward as a victim of sexual harassment. She and I only found this out like for I guess for the past couple of days as I was like looking into her more. She, like you said, spread rumors about a lot of different rappers, sexualities, about a lot of different stuff. She criticized Kesha when the Dr. Luke case was also happening.
wow.
Um, she's always made fun of Ariana Grande because she has a youthful appearance. She's always said that she doesn't look at her as a woman because she looks 12 according to Wendy. And she's criticized women when the quote unquote fappening happened. Do you guys remember that? It was like when that was the name that people gave when like tons of celebrity nudes
Uh-huh.
leaked. She was like criticizing people for taking the pictures to begin with. Specifically Jennifer Lawrence, because she was, I think at the time, the biggest celebrity amongst the bunch of celebrities that got their nudes leaked. Uh, a bunch of other stuff. Like I could go on and on and on. She produced a Lifetime movie about Aaliyah without the permission of the producers, and even the estate wasn't really satisfied with it
Oh
too.
my God, that was Wendy was
Yeah.
going to be the producer. I didn't know that. How did I miss all of this? I feel like I'm a very online person, but maybe that was a little before I got addicted to Twitter.
Yeah. She was one of the people who like tried putting Whitney Houston on blast on the radio, like with the drug allegations and stuff like that. So she's definitely been super messy, and I didn't realize the extent. So I figured I wanted to talk about her specifically because I have mentioned her before in my shows, in my streams, in my content generally, because I just thought, oh, she's a little messy, but she's funny generally. You know what I mean? That's what I thought. But then actually looking into stuff that she's said and she's done, and usually things that she doesn't really apologize for, I kind of wanted to, kind of put that out there. And as a last kind of add on to this, don't use her gifts don't use her reaction videos. Like, if you know she's a mess, don't like continue using her image. You know what I mean? Because that's just promoting her. Um, and one last thing is that you making fun of her appearance, it doesn't make you better than her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, she's messy, but I don't like people saying like, "Oh, she looks like a man anyway. Who is she to say that?" Or people saying that like, um,
Yeah, how are you going to be transphobic against someone who's transphobic? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, don't do that. And um, people were saying like every time she gets dragged for something, there's always that the valid criticism and there's the people doing personal attacks.
yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to add that like the second people do that, the people who are getting quote unquote canceled, they take that and they bunch it in with the people who are saying valid criticism, and they disregard everything as if hate. You know what I mean? As if it's hate. And they
Yeah.
don't take anything like it's a valid criticism because they just bunch everything together. So I always recommend staying away from personal attacks and staying away from um,
Name.
name calling and all of the above. So yeah, do better, be better. And on a more kind of positive note, I guess this story has more of a positive twist towards the end. I know nothing about TikTok. I always find it so annoying. I'm the old person who's like, TikTok is so annoying. People are so cringe on it. And like, it's so crazy. I don't get it. I don't know how to use it. And I'm not installing it. But
See, I agreed until I realized like now, because it started out as Musically or Musically or whatever the
mhm,
heck. And it was like literally just people like doing these awkward lip syncing, and I hated it.
right.
And
Oh
then I
no.
realized that people were actually doing like funny like skits, and it has basically become the new Vine, even though Vine's predecessor is now back too. But I don't think it's really going to take off because TikTok is already
Yeah.
getting there.
TikTok has taken over.
But continue.
Oh yeah, so I knew nothing about it, but then Kisos brought it up on the group chat, and so there was this situation where Jalaiah Harmon, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name
Yeah, I
correctly.
don't know if it's Jalaiah or Jalaiah.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm going to
Send
spell it in
help.
the chat for anyone who wants to look her up.
Um, so she was recently a victim of, I guess, cultural theft, you could say. So basically, I guess years ago, she came up with a dance and she posted it on a couple of different social medias. She ended up posting it on the her Instagram, I think, and then a TikTok creator snatched that dance and did it on his own TikTok.
Her,
Uh,
yeah.
and then he ended up getting copied by a much popular
Oh, I see. Hmm.
white girl, basically. And she ended up not taking credit, but she didn't give credit to the people she copied. So it was one of those things where people took the Renegade dance and they associated it with this girl, when in reality it was created way before by Jalaiah. I'm so sorry, girl. Um, so it was one of those things where it brought up the conversation of how this is not new, because if you date it back to the rock and roll era, which was created by POC folk, who took credit for that? Elvis. You know what I mean? Like, who ended up getting associated with that era? Elvis Presley. So it's just one of those things where a lot of things get created by people of color, and they end up getting gooped and snatched
Yeah.
from them, and then white people end up getting credit for almost like they get credit for popularizing it, but when they popularize something, they end up being associated with it. It's kind of when
They hide its origins.
yeah, it's they don't with the era of social media, it's really easy to take a video from a different platform and not even know who posted it. Like, how many reposts do you see of a different thing and you're like, who even posted the original one? So with the internet, it's really, really hard sometimes to find the original poster of something. But the good thing is that she ended up getting recognized after a lot of outrage on social media, and she ended up getting spotlighted in, I think it was a sports game.
Yeah, so the NBA All-Stars game, I
There
think
you
happened
go.
like the last week or two. And she got a New York Times article and some other like big interviews. And because one of the big things was, especially in the New York Times article, she's like, I wasn't necessarily so like, I was glad it got popular, and I wasn't mad at the girl necessarily for not giving me credit, but I wanted credit too.
Right.
Because this stuff is not just about like, first of all, if you look her up, Jalaiah, I'm gonna say Jalaiah because that's my first instinct. Hopefully that's right. Jalaiah is like an amazing dancer. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
like she's just a random kid who is like stringing moves together. Like there's pictures of her like doing like she's literally like flipping upside down like in a cartwheel like thing. Like this girl
Yes.
has worked. Like she has
Mm-hmm.
worked to create this stuff. And it's just like anything else like you would be mad about. Like
Yeah.
if someone stole a song that's like exactly the same from another person and didn't credit them and made all of this money off of them, because a lot of people on Twitter and social media are like, whatever, it's just a dance, it doesn't matter, like who cares? But a lot of people also don't realize that TikTok clout and social media clout pays you in real legit money.
Yeah.
So the fact that she was getting no money from this despite having a following and people trying to call it out for a really long time, I think it was maybe like last summer or last fall, so I don't know if it's actually even been a full year, but
Yeah. It,
um
it was September of last year.
okay,
So it
yeah.
took her months to get recognized.
Yeah, basically like almost half a year.
Yeah.
And apparently the other girl who like people thought made it, I think her name was like Charlie D'Amelio or something.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know, I'm making it up, but she got like a lot of like brand deals, and I think there was someone was saying like she's gonna get like a TV show or some little thing.
yeah.
So Jalaiah's
Oh.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
We can all win, but I want to win too, girl.
Yeah.
Um, and in the end, I think the girl who quote unquote stole it, although I don't, it's also kind of like you were saying, Ruby, a lot of times people will do a dance and they don't even necessarily know they stole it. They're just like, or that you don't really think about who was the first person to do this dance. Just like
Right.
everyone's doing this dance, I'm going to do it too.
Right. And she just
Um,
happens to be super popular. So,
right. She was already
yeah.
popular. So it really took off farther from there. And she's like a really pretty, white girl, which always helps, especially on TikTok, which is a lot of like, teen white guys,
Right.
um, like memers. But yeah, I guess the white girl, I don't know her name, Ms.
Charlie.
D'Amelio. Charlie, is it Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie like did reach out like through a publicist or something and say like, hey, like never meant to like not credit you. I'm so glad that everyone knows who you are. I would love to do like a collab with you. So it also sounds like not only is Jalaiah getting some credit, but like Charlie seems like I'm always a little hesitant to
Right.
praise people, but she seems like she wants to make it right, and
Yeah.
maybe at least is doing a little bit of reaching out and saying, "Hey, let's all lift each other up." So maybe Miss Charlie is woke too, and
Yeah.
you know,
They ended up collaborating. So what
oh,
happened?
did they?
Yeah. So originally what happened was Charlie got invited for the NBA game, and she was invited to teach the cheerleaders the dance. And there was
Oh,
social media, there was like footage of it. I think that the NBA posted or someone in there posted, and then there was a bunch of controversy, and they ended up either bringing
hmm.
Jalaiah. I'm so sorry. I don't know your name. I haven't heard anyone pronounce it out loud.
I know. I'm looking in like
Um,
so much stuff.
so they ended up, because of the controversy, she ended up performing the dance on the halftime like show or whatever. So she ended up, because both of them were in attendance, they ended up getting together and they filmed a TikTok for the dance, and with Jalaiah in the front and center, and then Charlie and
Nice.
her friend on the side.
Oh,
So
cute.
yeah,
Okay.
it was a little cute moment. I think the TikTok was posted on all three of their accounts, so that
Hmm.
it was Charlie kind of giving her credit, like thanks for coming up with this cool dance, whatever, whatever, whatever. But it's kind of like it could have been avoided if she like heard her complaints, because Jalaiah was going on everyone who was
That's
popular
true.
doing her dance. She was going on their comments saying like, "Hey, I came up with this. Would you mind giving me credit for it?" And
That's
everybody
true. And
ignored
I'm sure
her.
Charlie saw that. So,
So that's why I'm a little hesitant as well to be like, yes, Charlie, Queen, woke Queen, gave her all the credit,
yeah.
but
Because it's like she probably only said it when she realized, okay, I can't pretend it's mine anymore.
yeah. It's just like
Hmm.
the irony of her like teaching the dance that she didn't come up with.
Yeah.
It was just like, I think it was the tip of the iceberg, and everyone was like, no, this is not okay, stop it. I think it was in either like Jalaiah's area, like she lived in that area, or she was there for some other reason, and they were like, she's in town, just invite her. like stop what you're doing, or like, you're the
Right.
NBA, you have money, fly her out.
Hmm.
So yeah, what do you think, Chalora?
I think that basically all the things you guys said. Um, I feel like it's one thing to not know where something originated and to like be inspired by it or want to replicate it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to like, I don't know. I feel like if it's been around the block and you're like, I really don't know where this is from, and you try to look it up, but you find it, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to say like, oh, I got this dance from Charlie, because like let's say that's the latest you can find it,
Right.
but you don't think that they invented it. Um, you don't want to be like, oh, this is the Charlie dance or this is whatever. Um, so it's difficult these days, but I feel like if you're the original or whatever, uh, or the first person to copy something that looks original, even if it's fashion or makeup or whatever, I feel like you should want to appreciate people's work. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people take dance for credit or takes dance for granted,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, oh, it's so simple, and you just woo doo doo doo, like it's not like
Yeah.
that.
And
It's
I feel like it's
complete,
kind of harder to track like where it comes from because it's
exactly.
not like it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And that can go for a lot of other kinds of art as well, especially when people are smaller than somebody else and someone bigger takes it. A lot of people don't see the original, so then they think that the original is the bigger person.
Right. Yeah. And that's where the problem lies, because I don't think it's that difficult for people to just even have on their caption like, hey, I don't know where this originated from, but I'll edit the caption once I know, or let me know. I've seen
Yeah.
celebrities do this, because
Right.
in the past couple of years, celebrities. I feel like before, celebrities would just post fan art and be like, yes. And then eventually,
Hmm.
as the art community grew on social media, they were like, give credit, girl, or like, you
Hmm.
like, just it's me who did it. And now celebrities, when they run into like fan art, they're like, a lot of the times they say, I don't know who made this, but let me know if you did it, and I'll credit you, or I'll give you a shout out, whatever. um and I think that is a safe way to do it. Like, when you don't know, when you genuinely like look at a dance and you're like, oh, I want to learn it, I want to do it, just give it a little shout out. Just say like, hey, I don't know who made this dance, but it's really cool, and let me know who you are, DM me or whatever, and I'll give you a shout out. Or it's not that difficult, you
Yeah,
know?
I hope going forward people will be better about credit and be better about doing research because there's a lot of viral dances on TikTok, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like Jalaiah that are creating them that are not getting credit. One thing on TikTok is like for some reason they don't let you edit captions, but at the very least the person can like usually if you're the person that made the TikTok, like
Mm.
your reply will go at the top. So they could
Oh,
at least like
okay.
reply and be like, "Hey, found out this was created by this person." And especially if the TikTok is that viral, like getting millions of views,
Yeah.
like people will see that message. And
Yeah.
I would say it's also kind of your responsibility to help call people out if you say it, like not like you have to be researching through the whole time and be like, like just looking for people to call out. But especially if you're a big creator and this keeps coming up, and if you're kind of credited with it, as you see it, you should be like, hey, I didn't actually do this. Hey, I didn't actually create. I found out that this, because it's another thing where it's like, it doesn't make your art any less valuable. It doesn't make you any less talented. It's just everyone is happier. It's a lot of people in a lot of fields, including streaming, including music, always feel like everything's a competition instead of realizing it is true. The bigger we get, the bigger we can all help each other.
Yeah.
Like if Ruby gets 18,000 viewers, or I'll say if I get 18,000 viewers, then I'm always going to help Ruby. And I assume that if Ruby had 18,000 viewers, we would all still be friends. We're not going to change, and we can all help each other grow.
Absolutely.
And pay it forward and pay it back. So Ruby, when you get 18,000 viewers, I'm expecting a raid at least once a month.
Yes. You'll still have your slot on the show. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to suddenly be like only inviting people with a check mark. I'm sorry.
Don't kick me out for Pokimane. But yeah, so I think that's the thing too, is like people are kind of scared that they'll be invalidated if they're found out, or if they realize they're not original. But you can get clout while still shouting people out. Okay. And that's my new motto.
Yes.
Get clout, shout people out.
Absolutely. I love that. In other positive news, the Marvel... Oh, wait, is that the next one? Yeah. Yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is featuring their first ever gay superhero. So this is the cinematic universe. Just to be clear, the comics have always been way more inclusive, and I feel like they will always be. But very exciting that we have a homosexual couple, or at least a same-sex couple. I shouldn't say that, because one of the characters may not be gay, one of the characters may be bi or pan or any other sexuality other than gay.
Good catch, girl.
Yes. So it's the first same-sex relationship happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I think this is for a series, if I'm not mistaken. It's called The Eternals. I don't know if it's a series or a movie. If you're a Marvel nerd, just kidding.
I think Chalora said in cinema, but I don't know. I actually didn't. I didn't really. What'd you say?
I just said as opposed to comic.
Oh, it is a movie.
Oh,
okay. We're being told in chat it is a movie.
Okay.
So yeah, it's being portrayed by, I think, 2 people of color, if I'm not mistaken.
Great.
So one of the actors is Brian Tyree Henry, and the other actor is, oh my god, why didn't they say his name on here? His Twitter name is Has Slayman. I don't know if that's his
I think
actual
that
name.
guy, unless I was misunderstanding, I think that guy was just confirming that Brian would be Fastos or Fastos or whatever his name is. I think
I see.
is an actor that just spilled the tea on Brian Tyree Henry being the character, but I don't know.
Oh no, he will be the husband.
Okay, that makes sense.
He'll be the husband of Brian's character. Cool. Either way, awesome. I'm not really a...
Oh yeah, and he's Lebanese American, the Haas Slyman guy.
Yes. I love that.
So we got a black man and an Arab man. Yes, baby.
Yes. Go support this movie. It's one of those things, like, even if you're not a huge superhero fan, I'm not saying like you should watch it just because, but it's one of those things where if we show that in such a cis white male dominated field like Marvel fandom and stuff like that, if we can show that there's support and there's love for other stories to be told, then they will make more of them. You know what I mean? So it might not mean a lot to someone who's not much of a superhero fan, but imagine growing up as a superhero fan and like seeing a hero that looks like you or would date someone that you would date, which is a huge deal. Like, I can safely say that all 3 of us in this show, we didn't grow up with a superhero we could relate to in that way. So
yeah, Storm was my girl, but she was not a queer cis man.
Yeah.
So I couldn't fully relate to her.
Storm was that girl though.
She was.
Anyway,
especially in the 80s.
honestly, the X-Men women were always like it. You know what I mean? Like they had the iconic hair, iconic costumes. X-Men in general, I feel like was very inclusive for the time without it being obviously like this is gay, this is for gay people, this is for people of color,
This is
like
gay.
it's gay. You know what I mean? I feel like the X-Man lore is very much like the misfits of society. It's
True.
it's for like the people who are weird or they're seen as the underdogs or
Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like that's why a lot of people ended up resonating with them. But it's cool that we're actually getting stories that we can relate to. At least a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
Or at least like fantasize about.
I mean,
I want to
listen.
be Phastos's boy toy. Or the other
Yes.
guy, I don't know his name, but
You're not gonna have to look for the porn parody, you know what I mean?
right. I won't have to look up the fan art.
Filling of
The
that Superman sandwich.
Yeah.
yaoi or however you say it. You say Superman sandwich?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said the filling of the Superman sandwich.
Oh my.
Love that.
I'm down.
Yeah,
Now that we're all horny.
what do you all think? Yes. This is the horny stream.
Oh my
Sausage for
God.
breakfast. No? No one? Anyway. Yeah, what do you all have to say about this inclusion? I don't know when the movie is coming out. I think it's sometime this year. I could be wrong.
I hope that the portrayal is
June
good.
5th. Oh
and
no. June 5th,
not
20. No, sorry. I'm reading this article is confusing.
it's
I
okay.
don't know when it's coming out either. Continue, Laura. Sorry, I
I
thought
hope
I had
it's okay.
breaking news.
I just hope that the portrayal is good and not like very stereotypical or like they make it very fantasy, like it's not realistic, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or they like play it up as like some comedy thing. I hope that they just kind of like let it be what it is and show people that it's very normal as and typically they do that in like um superhero movies. They play like this is just an average Joe, and then like now he's a superhero sort of dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually some sort of like social justice conversation that happens with superheroes, especially with like Marvel as well as DC. They usually are both on the same page on that thing. But Marvel is now Disney as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Ooh,
kind of
forgot about that.
surprised that they would greenlight it at all, because
Right.
Disney has not been the most.
I think
Uh,
unless it's an official, like Disney's okay with touching LGBTQ stuff as long as it's not like their direct like
I'm
They
not
Disney
touching
movie.
LGBTQIA stuff.
they've actually recently had LGBTQIA content in their original like series and stuff for Disney. They had a same-sex couple for the High School Musical series,
Okay.
and they had a same-sex relationship in one of their TV shows, which got a
Oh,
lot of
well-
controversy, but they did it anyway.
Well, then
They had
work.
like a gay storyline. So yeah, but it's very recent, so I don't blame you for not knowing or for not being aware of it, because it's like as recent as like late last year, early this year. So yeah,
I mean, what adult watches the Disney Channel?
right, exactly. Like exactly. But by the
Also,
way,
who watches cable?
this cast for the Eternals, it looks very inclusive, like diverse, I should say. They're gonna have the first deaf superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well, which is one of the cast members for the Eternals. I was trying to see, someone in chat asked if they're actually like if the actors are actually gay or LGBTQIA. I don't actually know.
I just looked up. I haven't looked up Brian, who is the Fastos guy yet, but I just looked up Haas Slyman real quick because his @ was there, so I like went to his page real quick, and then Googled him and I saw that he in 2017, actually, I guess he was in Nurse Jackie or something. But Nurse Jackie star, who will also be Fastos's boyfriend or husband, or I don't know exactly, but he
Yeah.
comes out as gay and a total bottom. So Paz is
Yes.
gay. The Lebanese
Bottom
American
rights.
is gay and a total bottom. I'm gonna look up Brian in the background.
And side note, the release date for the United States at least is November 6th of this year. So very, very soon. Kind of. In the fall of this year, I guess. Yeah. I agree. I think I can only hope that the portrayal will be made responsibly and in a good way, like in a normalized way. I don't want it like I don't want the gay storyline to be the gay storyline. I want it to just be like a fact about the character. You know what I mean? Not really like like I don't want that cliche story of like all that this character has to their name is their sexuality. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
want them to be a full-fledged character who's a badass and then happens to have a husband, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, so I see, I still am not fully sure. Although he looks very cute, which makes me think maybe he's part of the LGBTQIA. Um,
That's the trait we all
Mr.
share. We're all cute.
Mr. Brian Henry has a beautiful, super cute fashion sense, but it does say his partner in the movie said we represent a gay family and have a child. So that will be really cool
Ooh.
to have in there, to have that be normalized, like a gay family, and further show that, kind of break the like gays as just horny, you know, sex addict stereotype.
Right.
I think that's kind of like what you were saying, Ruby. I hope that they kind of just have, gay people, hopefully, do some gay stuff, like not in like a sexual way, but I just mean like, maybe
Yeah.
have some inflections or like, do this after killing a bitch. But also like, not play it up too much. Like I'm hoping it's realistic in the sense where, it's not focused on like, just completely camp comedy, but where they can add in a little bit of quirk and like actual gay personality and not have to just completely be mask for mask gays. But I also think it is nice for the wider society to see gay people as normal, and a lot of people won't see that unless they're a little more mask for mask. So I'm hoping it's like a perfect balance for everyone, and that the people who are, there's a lot of conservative people who will just not be for it. But the people who are conservative and maybe, still going through their journey and they want to kind of be more open to things, I hope this will help them
Yeah.
come to the other side and be more accepting. That's my thing.
Yes.
I'll follow up on that with you. My mom and stepdad are both very like big Marvel movie watchers, but they're not the best at being inclusive. So we'll see if they're like complain to me and be like, Jalaiah, they're so like shoving it in our faces, and I'll be like, oh, shut
Yeah.
up.
I saw that the other, like, every time anything like this happens, they're like, oh, why is it about politics, or why is it now? And it's like,
Superheroes have
it's
always been
just
political.
that too, number one. Number two, it's literally just like, it's big news because it hasn't happened before, not because it necessarily needs to be big news and like, look at us, we're gay. Fuck you, straight people. It's literally just
Right.
because this is the first for a lot of people, so they're excited. But it's not supposed to be like, it's not the focus of the movie. They're just two characters out of this whole slew of people, and they have a family and they're minding their own business. So unless you're evil, in
Yes.
which case they will beat you down.
I approve of all of this. Um, Actually, this is not really breaking news, but the studio responsible for Life is Strange, speaking about representation, they are developing a game that will feature, and I quote, the first transgender AAA video game protagonist. So obviously, people know Life is Strange 1. It was a lot of the LGBTQIA content in it was kind of subdued, and then in the
Mhm.
prequel, it was the main characters basically had a same-sex relationship. And then in the sequel, one of the characters is bisexual, as far as I'm aware. Like the main character, one of the main characters is bisexual and POC, which is great. And now in the latest game that they're producing, I think it's just for PC and Xbox, which is a little interesting. Why is Sony not involved in this inclusivity? But
Yeah, is it an exclusive deal with Xbox, or is it that PlayStation's like, never mind, we don't want to touch it?
Right? Yeah, we don't know. Maybe Xbox or slash Microsoft funded the project or helped a lot. So that's, who knows? But it's exciting because this is not like a create your own character kind of thing. It's not like you can make your character whatever you want. Like, no, this is a story game. This is a character that is inherently trans. There's no way to go about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is just the character and their story. It is the main character is a male, trans male, and the story is about him and his twin sister Allison. So this will be very interesting. I think this is kind of taking some feedback from Life is Strange, because a lot of people loved the sibling dynamic. So they're taking another step forward with representation and having a transgender character. And obviously that has sparked the internet overnight, because some people are like Chalora was saying, like, why does this have to be like political, or why are we they have this word, why are we pandering to the social justice warriors, why are we blah, blah. But I do think it's a genuine thing from the studio, who they're just inclusive. Like, that's just how they make their stories. What do you all think about this? This is very exciting. I just learned about this.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, whenever people get mad, it's like, this is one character in one game, like, pretty much ever.
You don't have to play it.
Right. I'm sure there's been like trans representation in other places, but as it said, like, not in AAA titles, or maybe like kind of hidden in games, or even Zelda and Sheik, although I don't think it was necessarily meant in that way. There are certain like nods to transgender people and transgender lives. But I think it's going to be interesting to have it as a protagonist. And I think the game's going to do really well, because everyone knows that like the series is great and really well done and beautiful storytelling. So I hope that, some people who, again, are conservative and maybe don't understand or agree with it, but still really want to play the game, I hope that they'll secretly buy the game or openly buy the game and play it and enjoy it and realize, like, maybe trans people are people just like everyone else.
Yeah,
And
who knew?
I should, support that person at school who's getting bullied, or I should say hi to this person, or maybe I just won't be an asshole anymore. I just hope it helps, because all this stuff does help.
Yeah. And just to clarify, this is not a sequel to Life is Strange or anything like that. This is a separate game called Tell Me Why. Yeah, they're very passionate about the story, and the game, I think, only has a trailer out. I don't know if there's a release date for it, but they're very excited to portray this story, because for them it was also really important to talk about the conversation of pronouns in the gaming field, because it's still kind of up in the air, and it's still kind of people don't really understand it or want to understand it. Also, this is a very important detail that I just realized. The game was also developed in conjunction with GLAAD, the LGBTQIA plus charity.
Wow.
So, yeah, they said that GLAAD has been a terrific partner, helping us with script reviews and casting, as well as LGBTQIA plus community outreach,
Amazing.
excuse me.
Oh my God. Now I'm really excited.
Yeah, they said GLAD offered invaluable insight throughout the development to help us ensure that Tyler, the main character, is a realistic hero and to help us create an inclusive gaming experience that invites more people to play. So, yeah. And also, I think what a good step as well is like they are they have a male voice actor for the role. You know how sometimes with trans roles they sometimes have someone from the quote unquote before or the quote unquote after kind of trying like to play a trans character. Like they're just portraying him as a regular person who is trans. You know what I mean? Like, and not to say that, you know, there is a specific voice or a specific way to portray it, but I think it helps for people to understand that trans man are man and there's no distinction, or they shouldn't be voiced by women, or they shouldn't be voiced by anyone other than man. So I love that GLAD is involved in this. I was not aware. I'm literally reading this article for the first time, skimming through it as we talk, but I need to get it.
Yeah, like we were saying with Marvel, I hope it's a trans voice actor as well.
Actually, let me look. The actor is August Black. That's his name.
BRB Googling.
American actor, comedian, singer. I don't know anything about... Oh, I think he is trans.
Great.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just saw that. Amazing.
There's an article saying that trans actor August Black is voicing Tyler. So Tyler is the name of the main character for this game. So yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome. Really exciting. He has the same birthday as my brother.
It's your brother?
No. His birthday is on the 28th of August. Why did I not remember my own brother's birthday? I was like, excuse. But yeah, that's really exciting. Anyway, I got really excited and really happy about this topic. So in other LGBTQIA gaming related news, Persona 5 is updating their game to be better with their representation of gay characters. So in the original release of Persona 5, they have one of the characters at some point of the game run into a gay couple, or two gay men at least, and the character is supposed to be like a teenager, like in high school or something. And all of the lines are like them, like talking about his appearance. They're objectifying him. They're like trying to pursue a romantic interest with him, or continuously flirting with him. And people, when the game came out, people who are a part of the community and who witnessed those moments in the game, because they are just NPCs, just side note. So this is probably like a side quest. A lot of people probably didn't even experience this part of the game. But people criticized the game or the development of the game for depicting the characters as predatory, and for kind of portraying that stereotype that gay people will like go after straight men and harass them and try to get in their pants or whatever. So the developers said that in the new localization update that they're doing for the game, because the game is originally Japanese, and people have said that the Japanese context isn't as bad as the Western release. So they're saying that the Japanese content is still somewhat stereotypical, but not as intense as the English version or the any other language that they did for other than Japanese, but they're correcting it. Apparently, they're saying that the NPCs are going to be more of enthusiasts for something that they're doing rather than focusing on interacting with this teenager. I guess, I don't know. We'll see when the game actually comes out. And Persona 5 Royal is basically like an update to the original Persona 5 game. So it will include every single DLC from the original game. It will include like a whole new story.
New story.
Yes. They have like new characters. It's a whole other update. I don't think it's the first time that they've done this. Apparently with Persona they always have like they always release another game that's kind of like the definite version with that has like another chapter, a whole other thing. So the discussion on social media, and this is what I wanted to bring to the show, is people were saying this shouldn't have been in the game to begin with. And some people are saying at least they're correcting course right now. So where do you all stand with this situation?
I think that it's good that they're going to change. At least they're like acknowledging that there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know what like they were trying to go for, but at this time, I don't think it's good to like make to use a negative stereotype of like how gay people can be.
Right.
Just especially right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see portrayals of like, let's say, heterosexual women flocking over a male, it's not as grotesque or like as predatory, like you said. Like it's usually just they're like woohoo, like yay, woo, like have my babies or whatever. It's not like how they portrayed this encounter.
Right.
So maybe if they kind of even it out a bit, I know that the animation is not something that they can change because I think the animation is them chasing this character.
Oh.
So maybe they should change it to be like he stole something from them, or who knows, like
or like help us with something and we'll go after you, or
yeah,
like
if
they're not really yeah.
Like I haven't played this game in 2-ish years, I think. And if I remember, they like were trying to take off his pants or something.
Oh.
If I'm not correct, I don't know, but I think it was something like that.
I see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was sexually charged. Like the content
Yeah.
was like them going aggressively after him.
Yeah, and they were like kind of like bickering over like which one would get all this stuff, and he's like, no, what's going on? He was like very confused, but the two gay people were kind of like just talking to each other and ignoring him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they chase him, and I just like it doesn't sound very healthy or like nice to portray gay people like that.
Right.
I don't know what the Japanese version of that dialogue is.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've seen a lot of Japanese games where they portray homosexual male as very feminine, but like I don't know, maybe what they have over there, or maybe it's an easy stereotype for them to show gay people. I'm not sure how it is over there.
It's basically like the LGBTQIA community over there, from what I understand, is a lot more oppressive still. Like they're not represented properly in media yet, and it's still a fight that they're fighting every day. And people, and I'm glad you brought that up, because some people were like, "Oh, this is just their culture. This is just how they wanted the original game to be like. Why are you trying to censor their original vision?" And that's when people came in and said that the original dialogue wasn't as bad as the English one. It was still pretty bad, and people over there had their complaints about it. But the English version, I think, took it a step further. or a couple steps further. But
But in a way, I think still like it's not a leap and a bound, but it's like a step that they're at least in the game, even if it's like, I mean, at least they acknowledge that it's not good, so they kind of want to
right.
improve it a little bit. And I think that, even if it is just the English version taking that step, I think that's going to reflect onto the main studio that they're like, okay, maybe we should think about how we portray people.
Hopefully.
And
Yeah.
there's typically, when there is a gay character, it's usually like a drag queen character, from what I've seen anyway. Because there is another gay character in that game who's a drag queen who serves at a bar, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think at least they're there, and they're not overly like bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that they need to adjust.
Yeah. I wouldn't look up Persona 5 Royal on Twitter.
Oh.
If I were you. There's a ton
What a
of
mess.
people being very messy, and they're like, oh, those people shouldn't be playing games anyway if they're offended about everything. And people saying that they wish there was some sort of slider of how much homophobia you want in the game, almost as if it's like a difficulty. And they're like, I wish there was that so I could turn it up to the max and whatever.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah.
I'm ready to fight.
People are
Well, if I
upset.
could just make a comment on that. We have games where we're like eliminating Nazis and nobody cares about that. But if we changed it to eliminating homosexuals, they'd be like, hooray, woo, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody makes a social comment about killing Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that we should be saving them, but like,
Right.
What are you trying to say to Laura?
I'm
I'm getting ready to
Nazi,
clip this
hello.
and post it on Twitter.
But yeah, I just, when it comes to like other kinds of political things, nobody makes the same kind of comments, and I think it's a bit silly
Mm-hmm.
that we, it's just about this and it's not about other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mood.
What I will add is that it's apparently the developers got doxxed over it, and I'm not sure from the little bit that I read that if it was like the LGBTQIA community who was angry at them for having the misrepresentation in the first place, or if it was the people after they learned about what they think is censorship. But I don't think going about it in that way gives anyone any credibility. That just you're just a bully at that point. Like when you're doxing someone, that's bully behavior. You're attacking someone personally for something that is their job. They may not even have like, I don't know, like listen, the person who produced the game may not even be responsible for the process of localization, or maybe there's just certain things that, for the game to be released again, they were like Sega in like America or whatever was like, no, if you want to release the game again, we have to make some changes because the consumers have spoken. But it is sad. I always hate looking up these topics on Twitter because there's always like such a negative response. Like people just like, I don't know, like when you're on your own timeline, you just adjust accordingly. Like you block people, you unfollow people, so you end up like being surrounded by people who are accepting and people who are loving and people who will have similar things that they stand up for. And then to see that darker side of social media where people are showing,
and humanity,
they're showing screenshots of like them canceling their pre-orders and adding Sega and adding Atlas and doing all of that. And to kind of touch on the Japanese part of it, people were like, stop portraying like Japan as if it's like an anime land where everything is fine, or we're overly stereotypical about everything. Like the LGBTQIA community over there is fighting just as much as we are in the West, and they're not being heard. And that's even worse because their developers keep making mockery out of characters and making the villains in some of my favorite games are guilty of this. Like Final Fantasy character villains, a lot of the times they're like overly feminine and they have very femme attire and stuff like that, and they're always sort of portrayed as the bad people, and the villain is always the one that's like could be queer, you know what I mean, but they're not
Yeah.
inherently queer. But it's always like weird and gross stereotypes that are being portrayed there. So we also have to be respectful of that. Like it's not just Western, it's not just like European and American gays that are fighting for this. Like people in Japan, Korea, a lot of Asian countries, they're also fighting for those rights and they're not being heard. Um, so yeah, I just wanted that to also be portrayed and to be for their voice, because obviously we can't represent every community in every side of the world. But I wanted to be a little bit vocal on that because that's just not their culture. You know what I mean? Like that's something that they're also fighting for, and that's also something that they're trying to change. Um, so yeah, I kind of wish
Amen.
I saved the the trans character for last, because that's such a good note. That's
A
such
good
a
thing to end on. Now we're all
yeah.
depressed.
I just got excited when I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, wait,
Get to
yes,
share it. Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows that there's a lot of good stuff happening and a lot of stuff that needs to still happen. And it really depends on the different countries. I think that also goes to show like, a lot of people, especially in the US and Canada and more like, I guess you would say technologically advanced countries, some people really think, even LGBTQIA plus people think that we don't need pride anymore and we don't need these celebrations.
right,
And it's like, just because where you live is liberal and accepting doesn't mean it is in the next state over, in the next
right,
country over. And it's definitely not in every country. And I
yeah,
think having, continued pride celebrations and representation, all of that stuff, I'm sure everyone agrees. We just because we are doing better in some places doesn't mean we don't still need it. It's just like branding in the same sense of, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi are like the two most popular, like sodas, but they still have branding and commercials everywhere because they want to keep it that way. So just like as we may have areas where we have reached like peak acceptance, which I don't think there actually is anywhere where that has happened yet.
Maybe Seattle.
But maybe Seattle, maybe like, I don't know, Amsterdam, or I don't know, some of these
right,
other like European places. Um, I think that we still need it everywhere, and especially because across the spectrum, gay people, especially gay men, are more accepted than any other group. If you look
Yes.
at like lesbian women and bi people and pansexual people, and especially trans people and non-binary people, there is a lot more representation that needs to happen. So, like you were saying, really, with Life is Strange too, like that's a huge step forward, and that's why we need all this stuff to keep happening and all this pride and all that good.
And
yeah,
some people who might come from a more oppressed country and they move to a more privileged or liberal country, they've never experienced a pride maybe, and they finally get to go and they get to feel very free. And, I think that's
That's
important
true
to allow
too.
them to participate as
People
well.
take it for granted is all. You can't take
mm-hmm,
it for granted.
yeah,
Or they think it's like just a sex party
Or
or
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
right, yeah. It's very important, and I just think with games too, it's something that I feel like a lot of gamers, it's interesting how it's kind of the same with the LGBTQIA community. It's like, how can you be oppressed and oppress others? You know what I mean? Like you can like, I feel like a lot of the times the gaming community, it's not as much of that anymore, but when we grew up, it was like it wasn't cool to play games. Like if you played games, it was because you didn't have any friends, or you were like the nerdy kid, or you were like the weirdo in class. So a lot of gamers have that baggage in them where
Yeah,
they're
girl. I
like,
never told anyone. I was ashamed.
yeah, and they feel like, oh, I'm the weird one, I'm the outsider, and I'm this and I'm that. And then some of them end up, not really relating to us, but being like, hey, I get you. I was bullied for being a nerd, you're bullied for being gay. Let's come together and I'll be friends with you and we'll uplift each other. And there was actually an interesting moment at work that I had once where there was this guy who he was always like, he's like that typical like very loud guy, and he's always like kind of poking fun at everyone sort of thing. And there was this one time where he was like, I always noticed he was always like kind of poking fun at me, not really like making fun of me specifically, but always like making a little comment. I was like, I think he makes that with everyone, whatever. And there was
it
one
Brendan?
time yes, that was him. That no no, but there was one time where a coworker of mine actually kind of reported him, and she was like, I think he was like being homophobic with his language, and he like then the next day he came to me and had a really mature talk to me. He was like, oh, I'm sorry if, like, I never meant to be homophobic. Like, I was bullied for being fat. I wouldn't want to bully someone for being gay. Like, he was trying to relate to me in the sense of like, I was oppressed for something and you were oppressed for that. I would never oppress someone for whatever struggle or for whatever thing that other people may put them down for. And now, like, he's one of the people where, like, we always do a little handshake. We always meet up. Like, and this is just, like, a typical straight guy who, has his toxic things about him. Like, everybody has, like, toxicity in their life. But at least in that moment, we had a moment of, like, you know what? Like, we get each other kind of thing. Like, you go through your stuff. I go through my stuff. Yeah. And he's now more conscious about what he says around me or the things that he says or does around me, so that even like, obviously if he didn't mean it, then like maybe now he's more aware of what he does so that he doesn't come across as something that he would never want to be. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of growth for like a random straight guy that I never knew before work. You know what I mean? Like, this is someone that I don't know and I don't interact with on a daily basis. So what I'm trying to say is, like, people outside of the community can learn and grow. So like, even like for us to be inside of the community, we can also learn and grow and uplift each other. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like there's kind of two groups of people. And there's, for example, like you were saying, there's the people who have been bullied before, so they're like, I don't want anyone else to be bullied and go through that. I want to lift everyone up. And then there's other people who were like hurt, and because they were hurt, they feel like now they need to be the one in power.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I need to feel powerful, so I'm going to go after the next oppressed group of people. Like, they're going to go after Black people, or they're going to go after trans people, or they're going to do anything to make themselves feel on top, or they're going to be like the person that like goes to the gym. Like, I feel like a lot of like people that I meet who are like very bulky, strong people physically are because they're like, I was bullied for being tiny when I was younger, so I want to be popular and I want to be angry and mask and blah blah blah. So it's like, I mean, you can also be those things and be a wholesome person,
right?
But I think it's interesting that that's some people's reactions, and it all, I guess, just depends on how we grew up and how we took the certain hardships that came at us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always going back to work, I always struggled with stuff that like there's always the person at work that has been there for like 20 years or like 10 years or whatever, and they're like bitter, and they're like, they always talk like, they're always so rude to the newcomers, and their justification is like what Kisos was saying, like they were like, oh, I was treated like shit when I came here, so
exactly, disgusting.
They're gonna have to go through the same experience. And to me, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna be the best coworker. Like, I'm gonna be the coworker that the newcomer will come to be like, oh my god, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? I'll be like, yes, of course, girl, like, don't worry.
Right.
And that applies to a lot of like different things in life. Like, some people want, like, they don't want, but they almost, without realizing, they emulate the experience that they experienced on others, and they project that on others rather than trying to stop the cycle, if that makes sense. So yeah, but I'm really happy to see like the gaming industry seems to be taking steps towards being more inclusive with the stories being told and with the approaches that are being taken. Like, hopefully the next Persona game will be way more inclusive, hopefully the next Pokemon game will have like non-gendered clothes and items that everybody can wear, no matter what gender your character is. And that's all that we can hope for. Like, the gamers on Twitter aren't like just being mad to be mad. Like, they're just trying to see progress. They're trying that, like, that was a really good game, but like maybe next time you could have a better, you know, representation of the community. Like, if you want to have a gay character, make sure that you do your research. And I love that people are held accountable these days for that, you know?
Mm-hmm. I do kind of can see some times where people, though, who are trying to do a good job are criticized for the steps that they are taking, which I think we also need to be careful about. Like, I don't think we should be happy with the bare minimum, but I also think we need to make sure that when we are critiquing people for the representation that they are doing, that we're doing it in a smart and nice and uplifting way.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that are trying to educate themselves, and something might be a big step for them that to us feels like not enough.
Yes.
I think that might be more on like a personal level versus like these big industry and, you know, games and movies and things where it's like, okay, this is going to have a lot of weight, so please do it right. But yeah, I do think we have a responsibility to not necessarily be happy with what we're given, but I think we do need to be grateful for what we're given, and then just always push people to take it a step further instead of always. I see a lot of people just come with negativity straight out of the bat.
Right.
Like, even when I was looking at the Life is Strange tweet and looking at some stuff, they were like, you know, well, what about this? What about this? That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough for me. And it's like, this is a historic thing.
Right.
And all I'm seeing from some people is negativity, even though they have the best intentions.
Right.
But I think it makes people wary to do kind of these steps more because they're going to get critiqued. And I definitely hear that a lot, especially from conservative people or Republican people who, you know, genuinely do have good hearts, but are just feel kind of overwhelmed by, I guess you could say, the cancel culture or social justice culture. So be nice to your friends, but also if someone is a bitch, then fuck them up.
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah, kill them with kindness. Like, let them know that you appreciate the effort that they took, but also how you can improve next time around. And I do think, like, I don't know how they've been receiving their feedback, but the company, I forget their name, the company responsible for Life is Strange has been, like, the fact that they got involved with GLAAD.
Don't Nod, I think is the name.
Something.
Or something, I don't know. I saw someone say Don't Nod, like a few people say it.
Oh yeah, that's the name.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah, the fact that they're working with GLAAD to like properly represent the community, and special shout out to like Microsoft for also like putting their neck out there and being like, you know what, the gaming community can be very toxic, but we're gonna lead the way, and we're gonna say that we want these stories out there, and we're gonna be more inclusive. And as well as like because of moving to Twitch since we're here, like shout out to Twitch for, they had recently an event for Black History Month, and they flew in like 12 people from all over the country, and a couple of them even from Europe, to attend Twitch headquarters, and they had a lot of discussions with them, and they had a keynote that was on the front page, and they were talking about how they can be more inclusive as a platform. And I've heard rumblings that they're going to do that for other months. They're going to have more people flown into the headquarters and have proper discussions with them, not just broadcasted, but offline as well, where they show them like, hey, like, we're working on these things. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a good new feature? All that stuff. So I wanted to give Twitch the props for this time around as well, because they're, I think they are trying. And I say this because I actually interacted privately with someone who went, and I asked them questions. I was like, hey, how was it? Like, how was it actually? Like, you can tell me, girl. And my friend was like, no, it was amazing. Like, they spent a lot of money on us. They, like, paid for everything. And I just wanted to add this because Twitch having the Amazon coin, I love that they're using that to better themselves, you know, because it's easy for a big platform to be like, oh, I can't listen to everything. I can't take into consideration all the feedback. Like, people are just being mad to be mad. like I like the idea of them like actually listening to the community and for them to be open to bring people to their home essentially and be like, hey, help us please. Like we want to make your experience better. So invite us. Just kidding. Invite us for the Pride Month keynote.
Otherwise
and all
we'll
that.
cancel you.
Or we'll talk a ton of shit about you. No, just kidding. I just wanted to say something about that because we are on Twitch, and we've said multiple times that Twitch is one of the best live streaming platforms when it comes to the inclusivity. So yeah, I wanted to end on a good note about our
I think we did. I think we turned it around.
platform. So yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Twitch, where can people find you all on Twitch? We'll start with Jalaiah this time.
Find me at twitch.tv/Jalaiah.
Yes. What can people expect on that link?
Disappointment. You can see me doing drag, playing a lot of like a wide variety of. Still need someone to play StarCraft with. It's 2-player. Whoops. Sometimes I just sit there and I talk and I drink wine and I get really stupid.
We love
But
that.
it's just comfy, casual, just accepting, loving. Sometimes we get political. Sorry.
It happens.
It's just me.
Yeah, next thing you know, you're just talking about something like extremely political, and you're like, well, I didn't intend on doing that while playing Pokemon, but here we are.
Here we are doing fluffy things, and then suddenly AIDS. Oh.
Right. Yeah, but really important conversations to be had, so yeah.
Yes.
Last but not least, we have Kisos. Hello.
Hi everyone. My name is It's Kisos on all my social media. ITSKISOS. I do music streams, I do gaming streams, and I'm the nicest bad bitch on Twitch. Yeah, I do a lot of different stuff, and I stream a lot. And I also love having deep talks and just talking about dumb stuff and screaming a lot. So if you want someone who screams a lot on stream, which I know is not for everyone, but it's genuine when I do it. I do scream a lot and I do get mad, but I have a good time and it's wholesome. So I hope you come say hi.
Yeah, it's the opposite of ASMR. Like some people are into whispering, some people are into yelling. It's fine, there's something for everyone.
Come get dominated in Kisos' chat.
Okay, there you go. Some people immediately followed and subscribed as you said that.
Good.
So you're welcome.
I'm watching my alerts.
Yes. And obviously you can find me at Project Ruby on Twitter, on Twitch, and YouTube, where this podcast episode will be up. I will also be putting these out on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so we'll be working on that, and by we I mean I will be working on that.
Well, thank you, Ruby. That's exciting.
Yeah, we'll be on those different platforms for people who just want to listen to us. They don't want to look at our faces, they don't want to see what kind of shenanigans are going on screen. If you're driving and you don't want to get distracted by my hair or something like that, you can always just listen to us. That's a work in progress, but it's coming soon, I promise. And on my streams, you can expect these talk shows. You can expect a lot of deep, also silly conversations, also gaming, a little bit of tarot, a little bit of music coming soon. So yeah. I keep saying that every single week. It's coming soon, but it is. Trust me. She's rehearsing, she's trying, and it's coming. So get ready for it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll see you guys next week. If you're watching on Twitch, stick around for a little bit longer because I'll still be streaming. So yeah, bye.